Welcome everyone on this Monday early evening to the Dream webinar, Strategic Planning and Reporting for the 325X Grantees. So today we're going to talk about developing a new program area, navigating year one expectations of the APR. We figure we capitalize on this time frame, this experience, since the APR is not due until May 2nd. So you still have time to ask questions, make tweaks, get support from Dream. So once again, welcome everyone. Thanks for attending. And if you could share your name, your institution, and project role in the chat, that would be great.
It's only 5 folks if people want to unmute and share.
Yeah, that's fine. Just come on, unmute and share.
Hi, we're here from Jackson State University, which is in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm Brandy Newkirk Turner, and I am here with Whitney Perkins.
Hafaday, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, this is June De Leon from Guam, University of Guam Cedars. I'm here with Josephine Cruz. Joe?
Half a day, Josephine Cruz from University of Guam. Good morning.
Good morning.
We tried to accommodate you better this time. We had you in mind with this.
Right. So it's only
Thank
7:30,
you.
I think.
7 in the morning.
7,
Thank you
yep.
so much.
But we do appreciate the accommodation. It's way better than 3:30, so thank you.
Anyone else want to introduce themselves?
Hello, Josh Baker, University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Hello, Sam Song over at San Diego State University.
And I think that's everybody.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Okay, the Dream webinar in March reviewed APR basics, like the details of the Dear Colleague letter, the cover page, and sections of the reporting form. We also shared some common pitfalls to avoid and solutions. So today we're going to take a deeper dive into those APR sections. We're going to talk about, what it means to add a new program area and how, to document that on the APR form for submission. So we're going to try to do a poll. We'll see. We want to know, where are you in the process of your APR submission? So we wanted to ask, where are you in the process? So does anybody, a brave soul, want to come off mute and just let us know where you are?
So this is June. I can be the first. Can you hear me?
June, go ahead.
I just don't know. Yeah, I can, as far as mute, unmute, I'm sorry. But I guess we're still in the developing stage, and Tracy had indicated she'd like to see the APR, right? The draft before submission. But my question, I think, is because of this DEI or concerns, and I know some other grants have talked about, avoiding DEI language. And so, I mean, we could just make it straightforward as far as the examples that were provided for developing the performance measures, both program and project. But, I guess I'm interested in knowing about the terminology, what to avoid. I mean, it's really interesting these times. So I'm looking for guidance in that regard so that we're clear about what language to use or not use. For instance, culturally relevant, locally appropriate, those terminology within our APR measures.
Okay, thank you for that, June. And we will touch upon some of that later. And I have some ideas of how to support that in general. But do you want to tell us where you are? Have you just opened it, or your APR? Are you making progress? Are you almost done?
Yeah, so based on Tracy's examples, right? She had sent us an example, and so we're familiar with measures, right? And we have our work plan and everything laid out. So I just want to make sure that the measures that we put in are appropriate based on what they're reviewing and what they're looking for. We haven't gotten that level of guidance as far as terminology, and knowing that we are an MSI. I don't know if that's going to come up. So we're ready. It's just I want to be careful with what we put in.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that. Does anyone else want to come off mute and share where they are in the process? And we're going to get into the measures and some other details of that later. Okay, does anybody else want to speak? If not, we can move on. Okay, well, thanks for sharing. All right, what does it mean to develop a program? So per the notice inviting applicants, we know OSEP defined developing a new program as a new degree or certificate. And adding a new area may include new or revised programs of study, courses, partnerships, field placement, or practicums. So this timeline provides a strategic path for planning for approval. And it gives some opportunity for collaboration and refinement along the way. So the dates that are listed are just placeholders, knowing that all 325X projects started October 1. So the first phase, you should be engaging key stakeholders early, meeting with department chairs, deans, and faculty collaborators to build consensus and gather input. The second phase, you're outlining the proposed program or certificate structure. You're assuring alignment with standards and workforce needs in the discipline. And you may be drafting course descriptions and identifying all necessary forms, policies, and procedures required for internal processing to be able to move forward. Okay, next, you're also looking at more of the external approval. So once you have the internal approvals, you want to look at, what is required to get external approvals, or those approvals, or do you need to submit something to your state board for licensure or accreditation? Also, what needs to be finalized and confirmed in order to move forward. And we're looking at, and you also want to be prepared to document on, some of the tasks and on the timeline that you can submit for your May 2026 APR. So as we talked about, next we moved into approval phase, which can include both internal and external checkpoints. Internally, the proposed new degree program or certificate must pass through department and college level processes. The next steps ensures alignment with institutional priorities. Externally, you may need to engage state or national certifying bodies or accreditors. And please check for details in your specific state or discipline area. And DREAM is here to support if you need guidance on who to contact. So now we're going to move into the program measures. And as June mentioned earlier, OSEP did provide a list of performance measures. So when selecting performance measures, it's important to revisit that guidance provided by OSEP, specifically for the 325X program, since these measures are new and this grant program is new. And we'll review a few example measures directly from the OSEP guidance to illustrate alignment, and be sure your selected measures are clearly tied to the goals and structure of your program. So most of the 8.4 or 325X programs are still in development at the time of the APR submission. Some may already be finished with that development, but it's important to show clear and strategic progress. Provide narrative updates that describes where you are in the development process and what's been drafted, what's under review, and any anticipated launch or completion dates. So what you see outlined in the box is what OSEP provided to all 325X grantees. We reviewed these measures in the March webinar during the breakout session. And to the right is an example of how a project would incorporate their progress into the measure. This example shows completion by stating 100%. So as you see in the example, it starts out in the OSEP in the box, what OSEP provided is at 100%. And so that will, if it's completed, it can stay 100%. And you can, it's a new master's degree program in special ed. In this example, it's saying it's still in the process, and progress will be measured by submission of finalized comprehension plan, and it gives a date. So this date is beyond the APR submission. So you're stating that this is what is anticipated, and then you state how it will be measured. And there it talks about course outlines, curriculum, structures, and all this is verified. You have documentation based upon this, what stakeholders' feedback that you received. The next example shows completion again by 100%. It's a different measure. But if your program is not complete, here you're reporting that you're reporting the percentage that is complete, but you're also giving further details in the project summary that you can outline. But here you're saying that, you know, by January 2025, that you anticipate having these approvals and documentation of the completed plan and meeting minutes were submitted as evidence of completion. I'm sorry, you completed it in January 2025. So with the APR reporting period ending in February 28 of 2025. So this is saying that it is completed. Okay, our next example. In this example, this measure refers to core courses. So it's talking, and this example is not showing 100% completion. So it's saying as of February 2025, which the APR reporting period ends at the end of the month of February. So it says, you know, prior to the enrollment of scholars. So we know that scholars for the X's won't be enrolled until the end, by the end of year 5. But this measure, this example is reporting 60%. And project team is just an you know, a random project or project placeholder, but it says 60% of the core courses have been revised. And so, and then the project advisory committee has reviewed these courses. It talks about how they've used DEC recommended practices, and they've got feedback, and they're aligning them, and that the progress and they're expected to be completed by September 2025. So this is just an example that is showing that, you know, this particular project is only 60%. Okay, special instructions are included for grants in their first budget period. And in the resource that OSEP provided, instructions for grant performance period, they have if targets were not set for the first budget period. If targets were not set for the first budget period, then you would enter, if you're using raw numbers, then you would enter 999. And if you're using, you know, percentages or a ratio column, then you would enter 999, you know, as a ratio or as a percentage. And this is, you know, depending upon how you're going to report your data, is it raw number, is it ratio, is it percentage? But 999 is the magic number when you don't have data. And OSEP, when you look at the Dear Colleague letter again, they want you to report on all the measures. And so for those measures that you haven't set targets or you don't have data, then 999 is that magic number. And further instructions can be found in the Dear Colleague letter. Okay, next I'll turn it over to Liz. Do we want to take any questions now, or we do have questions at the end before Liz goes into navigating G5?
I'll give it a second to see if there's questions so far. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead actually and share my screen and walk you through how I am going to get into G5. Just a little fun fact, G5 can be a bit temperamental. G5 doesn't like Safari, which is my preferred browser, so I am using Chrome to show you G5. And if you go to g5.gov, it will bring you to the screen. I know there's been some confusion because at one point we were told to log in through G6. G6 is not currently functioning. You should just be going directly to g5.gov and it will take you to this landing page. Now, only the PIs will have access to log into G5. So if you are not the PI, you likely will not have access. It really is only given to the PI of record on the project. So first I will click continue to G5. It will then take me to a login screen. Here we go. Here's my password, log into G5. Now there's a two-factor authentication process. So hopefully you've all already set this up. You should have set up your G5 account when you received your grant to receive your grant awardfication notice. So hopefully you already have this in place. So I select the text option because that's how I get my secondary passcode. And it's going to send a passcode directly to my telephone. And then I'm going to enter it. So the way I find my grant submission reports once I'm logged into G5 is I go to grant maintenance and then package submission. You probably went to this button before to see your award document when you got your notification. When you're doing your APR, it's going to be the package submission option. So I will click on package submission. Now mine probably looks a little different than yours because I have quite a few grants, but for the example today, I'm going to click on my 325M grant, which is my newest one that's in its first year. So after you select the grant, if you have more than one, you hit continue. And then when you're starting, if you have not yet started entering your report into G5, when you click on your grant, it should show a box very similar to this. You need to select your project and click initiate. Now, once you've hit initiate, it will bring you to the screen of all the different sections that need to be completed. So I'm just going to go through them one by one so you can see them. You always have to select, and when you're working on editing the form, you want to click on edit form. So the first one here is the signed cover sheet. All that happens here is you will upload the signed copy signed by your business office or your grants office that has that cover sheet where you would enter the total amount that's been spent this year, as well as the other details of the grant. You would upload that file, and remember the file needs to be a PDF, And then after you've uploaded it, you would click Form Complete. Since I haven't clicked Form Complete, I'm not going to click that. And then you would save and return to package. I'm just going to cancel since I didn't actually submit anything there. This next one, Project Narrative, this actually, if you click on it there, is an optional attachment. I don't have anything optional or additional I'm adding for my grants, so I would just click Form Complete and save and return to project. The next one is the we did the signed cover sheet, the grant performance report cover sheet. So this can be a bit confusing because what this is an area where you manually enter the same information that you already uploaded from your signed cover sheet. So you're going to look at the information that your business office provided on your signed cover sheet, and you're going to enter all of that same information yourself manually. There's no place there for the signature because this is you entering it manually. But what's really important to know is at the bottom here is where you're going to upload your executive summary. So that executive summary piece that Don showed you some examples of, once that's complete, you're going to upload that here. And again, must be in PDF. So if you've completed it in Word, you need to save as PDF. You would upload that file here, form complete, save and return to package. Next is your project status chart. This is the one that's the table format where you talk about each of your measures and goals. So this all has to be entered manually. This is not an upload. So I highly recommend you complete this first offline in a Word document and then copy and paste because G5 can be a bit temperamental. So you always want to have everything saved someplace else. So in the project objective box, you would write in the first objective of your project. So for example, for the project I'm referring to here, our first objective is to recruit 20 scholars. So we would put the project objective, and then each performance measure we list would be a sub of objective 1. So it would be 1A, I would enter whatever that performance measure is. The measure type that you're going to be selecting is either program or project. All of those required project performance measures, the ones that were given across all projects, those are going to be program measures. If they're ones unique to your project that align with the program measure, for example, 60% of syllabi will have evidence-based practices, ones that are unique to your project are going to be project objectives. So you would drop down and choose either program or project. Then you have the choice between either entering a raw number as your data or entering a ratio, which would automatically be converted to a percent. You're not going to enter both. Keep in mind that if it's a goal you should not have met yet, as Don said, you would enter 999. Like if there was by year 5, the project will be fully accredited by the National Accreditation Agency. You're not in year 5. Your target would be 999. Your actual would be 999 as well. G5 does not allow you to enter zeros. So if you try to enter a 0 anywhere, it's going to show up as an error. You can enter a 0 like if it's the number 10, but not a 0 standalone. Then you need to enter 999. So for every time you need to add another performance measure, you would click Add Performance Measure. So you would have 1.A, 1.B, and you would do the same thing for each. If you have more than one objective, which most of you probably do, the way you get to your performance measures around your second objective or third objective is add another project objective. I'm not sure, yeah, well, let me do it probably because I didn't actually enter anything on this one, but that's what you would do after you have your data. And you would do that until you have a sheet like this for each objective. And then finally, sections B and C. Section B refers to your budget. So here you would upload a PDF file of a table of the funds that you've spent this year, what you would expect to spend by the end of your actual grant year, which probably ends September 30th, and how much money is being carried over, with a narrative describing what you've spent money on and making a rationale for carrying over any unused funds. Section C is additional information. Sometimes there's specific things asked for. For example, if you had students scholars being funded, it might want information about scholars. If you've made any significant changes to your projects, like changed one of the PIs or changed a partnering institution, you would attach that under additional information. If you have nothing to say, that's fine. You would upload a PDF that says section C and A. You can't leave it blank and you can't leave it out. So if you have nothing to say, you can, because this is not an optional section, you can just prepare a document that says section C and A and upload it in this place. And those are all of the required parts for your G5 submission. Once you have everything submitted, you would actually click on continue. And here's where you certify that everything is accurate. Now, this is a bit confusing because the same way the cover page and when you submit a grant, you're not supposed to be the one to sign off. It's supposed to be your budget office. You're attesting that you are signing off on behalf of the university. And you see here, this is not my name. This is the name of my vice president for research. However, your research office doesn't have access to G5. You do. So the way I handle this at FIU is I send a draft of every report to my research office. They review it, and then they give me permission to sign off in G5 on their behalf. So when you have all of that completed, and only when everything is completed, then you push this submit button. Now, if Tracy wanted to see your reports before you submitted them, then definitely don't push submit until Tracy has also said that you're good to go. If you want to practice in G5 and start uploading things just to start getting things uploaded and get the hang of it, that's fine. But hold off on submitting till you know Tracy's good with what you have, your research office is good with what you have, and that you've got everything, all the ducks in a row. And only then should you click that submit button. Any questions on the G5 stuff? Just checking the Q&A to make sure. All right. If you think of anything later, feel free to reach out.
Okay, once again, just some final tips for a strong APR. We know that you all are working hard. So definitely, as Liz said, make sure that everything is, in its most final position as you can get to hit that submit button. Also, start early just to, allow for any delays or technical issues, and just double check all your information. Okay, now we will have questions, but I'll start off by kind of addressing June's earlier question. And I can, tell you what we did. So in the beginning, when Dream was just, getting started, and definitely I should say after January, we went through statute. I went through the statute language and kind of pulled out, what might be appropriate language. So in this, and we made sure that Dream kind of aligned with the statute language. So anything on our web page and just in our resources and our products. So having said that, there isn't the word diversity does appear. So it's in the statute. So it talks about, to meet the diverse and individualized instructional needs of children with disabilities. It also talks about under special populations in the statute, and I can provide sections number, but it talks about attracting and retaining high quality, diverse staff. It also talks about addressing the needs of children with disabilities from minority backgrounds. So having, said that, we know that diversity is the big D in DEI. And it's hard, to gauge what is appropriate and, what's not, even though the word diverse is in the statute. So having said that, we have been leaning towards like underrepresented groups. That is one of, it says, and this is also in the statute, the purpose of like personnel prep is to reduce teacher shortages, especially from groups that are underrepresented. So we, are definitely using that language. So when it comes to the coursework, I would definitely, talk with your project officer, if that's Tracy, and try, to see what response or what they have to offer. And I know it's hard for them also because they don't know. There's, no, list of, key terms to use. But I would, try to be, and I'm going to use the word inclusive without using the word inclusive as possible in your language. And that means, opening it up to all, even though you are, your program is training in that, in areas that are, to make sure that the scholars are trained in areas that address the needs of, children with disabilities that are from underrepresented groups. So you may want to lean towards the term underrepresented groups and, you know, d- definitely, stay away from those terms that we know might trigger a response, and not the response that we want to have. I know that's, that's not too helpful. Maybe we can, send out something with just a list of, where it says in a statute, but that doesn't really mean that that's something that we'll be able, to lean on and can, use that to support, what we're doing. It's just, there's just a lot that is, uncertain right now. So Liz, do you have anything you want to add? With being a grantee yourself, how are you handling this?
I'm the wrong one to, I can tell you my advice, do as I say, not as I do, because I just look everything right in the face and do what I think is right, even though it could get me in trouble. I will say, I don't imagine many people are reading these APR reports, not in the same way. Like I would definitely be more careful. Like we made a lot of adjustments to our Dream Center website, which is our public facing way for people to find out about our center. We did change language in our evaluation plan. And what we really did is, we always were here to help everybody, as I'm sure you all are trying to recruit all sorts of students. So if there's anything overtly saying we're only looking to fund Black males, that's not appropriate language to be using. But if things like including underrepresented groups or including those from underrepresented or diverse backgrounds, I don't think you need to change that language. And whatever your goals are probably align with what you were asked to do in the call for proposals. And so as long as you're matching back what you were asked to do, then I think that's fine. Of course, I would defer to Tracy if you have concerns. And I don't know, June, if you have like specific examples of things that you were going to say that you're worried about how to say, if there's like a specific sentence that you were thinking of using that you think could be problematic, we can certainly try to maybe workshop that with you of wordsmithing. But I don't think you need to change every objective you had because it might be about underrepresented groups or diversifying the workforce. But really, this report, so much of it is just basic numbers. So if you said things like, 6 new courses will be developed by the end of year 2, then you're reporting on, did you develop 6 new courses yet? Or so far you've only developed 2, right? Like that's not really controversial stuff per se. I think the conversation about language is definitely a larger and more complex and nuanced and important issue. But I think for the APR reports, there's probably ways to just report the facts of what you've actually done that aren't going to put you in a position to have a lot of cause for worry about that language. And really, the report shouldn't have a whole lot of flowery extra language. It should really just be a very specific summary of what you did from October 1st to February 28th. So June, did you have like a specific thing you wanted to?
I think this is very helpful. Of course, for us in our work in the first year in the needs sensing, we're looking for culturally relevant place-based type of programming, right? As we update our courses. And so that's where it's threaded. But I like it's very helpful that you talked about the underrepresented, definitely we use the diverse, minority populations because, we're within our region. So this conversation has been very helpful.
And maybe in that example, June, maybe you even say play-based materials that are relevant to all learners.
Yeah.
So it's the spirit of what you want to do without putting words in there that might be cause for alarm. Because really that's what you're doing in a sense. I think people get hung up on particular words and, have words they've been taught that now they're looking for to be a problem.
Yes, yes.
But what you're trying to do is make sure all learners are being reached through your curriculum, right?
Correct.
And so that's a way that you can say that without anything that starts with a D, an E, or an I.
Correct. No, thank you. This is very helpful.
Right.
Because I was going to be like you, Elizabeth, like say it as it is, but then,
Yeah, I need to
I don't want to get a
without playing
termination letter.
Exactly. Believe me, I understand. Every day we're just trying to keep our grants going.
Yeah, and June, another thing I thought about, I think you said something about locally. I don't know if it was locally appropriate, or I couldn't remember
right.
the term locally. Think about community appropriate,
Okay.
talking about the community, which
Yes.
replacing that term might help also.
Okay, good idea.
Any other questions? Or does anybody want to share? I know 325X's are, a new grant program, developing a program, but I know we have a few experienced grantees on the line. Does anybody want to share what they may have done regarding any specific language?
In August, at the OSEP meeting, we will be holding an in-person session. We are working on the exact time. It's going to fall during the time of the conference so that hopefully everybody who is going is still there. We'll probably choose one of the hours where there's concurrent sessions going on, but none of the panel sessions or key sessions that everybody would be expected to attend. I did learn at the same time as you all that it's only one person attending. So we will still meet with you all in person, but it will unfortunately just be one representative from each project. But it is an unusual year. This is the first time I've ever seen that happen. So what I would say is those of us who are in person will certainly meet in person. If you have team members that you wish were there but can't be there, we can certainly Zoom them in. We can share out all the materials. You can bring back what you learned. But the way I foresee our meeting in August would be twofold. We would hopefully be providing, if there's a need at the time, for some information to move you along, but really it's also a networking opportunity, because I know by then we'll have interacted several times over webinar. And I know we were fortunate to meet some of you, including June, when we got together in Baltimore at CEC. But this will probably be the first time, because I expect everybody will be there, at least one representative from each project will be at OSEP. So this will really be the first time all the ex-grantees are in a room together, since you were really funded and started doing some work in your project. So it will be a very special and important time to be together in person. It will be unfortunate that not everybody will be there, but we will absolutely do our best to find ways to include folks who aren't there and be sure that we pass along good stuff and send home little gifts that we have for you all to take back to your partners. So yeah, it'll end up probably being more of a hybrid than an in-person for those who can't make it, but we're absolutely still doing it, and we still want anybody who's there to go ahead and come and be a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you think of things later, and please do give us some feedback on what you'd like to see at the upcoming webinars so we can make sure. This one obviously was APR because that's what's imminently due, but you have timelines, you have things moving along, and we want to choose topics that will be the most relevant to as many people as possible.
Hi, everyone. Before you leave us, please take some time to scan the QR code. We really want to hear your feedback about what we delivered today and also what you would like to see from us ongoing, as Liz mentioned. So please take a moment, answer a few questions about how you think we're doing and your experience here today.
Just if you haven't yet tried to log into G5 because you're waiting for everything to be done, my little advice is please try logging into G5. If you haven't been in a few months, they've probably locked out your password. You'll have to do a whole reset. If you try to log in too many times with the wrong password, it locks you out and you have to do a whole little reset. So don't wait until the 11th hour to start that login process. The report is one piece. The technical side of entering it is the other. So please go ahead, and even if you don't have a report to enter, just play around looking like you did with me and, make sure everything's there. I've heard, in fact, my grant, when I first logged in this cycle, The new one I just showed you did not have the initiate button there. There was just like a flaw in the system. I had to actually email OSEP to get that corrected. So these aren't the kinds of things you want to have happen like the day before this submission is due. So definitely go ahead and try your G5 out and make sure all of that is working. You don't want a technical problem on top of the stress of completing the APR.
I also want to add to that and echo start early because they are shorthanded. They short staff. And so I had to request technical assistance to log into my account because I'm a reviewer. And they suggest that you email because calling is backlog. And I emailed, I outlined what my issues were, and they got back to me right away. I can say that that is new. You always had the option, but when you call, they say, please email us. So just get on, if you need access or other technical issues, please start early.
And if you think of questions you didn't have today or you get stuck as you're working, we did set up office hours. Depending on the day and time, you'll either get Dawn or me. We are the two folks holding office hours this cycle. So we've already had a few. These are upcoming dates that will still be available. So, once they're gone, they're gone. There's a way to sign up that I believe Shantae can share with you. So as you select the hours, they disappear from availability, but these are the hours that were available as of this morning. If you would like to meet with one of us for, 15, 20 minutes to ask your specific questions or troubleshoot something you're having with the APR. These are specific to APR. If you have more broad issues, we can certainly talk about them, but we're holding these hours specifically to help folks with the APR reports.
And to that, I also want to add, if you do sign up, it would be helpful if you have any documents or questions or want us to look over something, if you could send them in advance, since they're kind of short increments, so we can accommodate, all that want to use it. We'd appreciate those in advance to review.
And I have previously sent out the office hours link. I will include them again in the follow-up email from today.
We also want to remind you guys, we are working on some resources that will be coming out to you as well. So we're working on a reporting checklist to help streamline your process and kind of keep you on track on your APR as you move along closer and closer to that May 2nd date. We're also going to be helping you with a program development tracker. Now this would go beyond the APR. This is more for help preparing and setting in steps that you need to achieve your goals for your program development. And also just some reminders, look out for our webinar that will be coming in May, and please follow us on our social media accounts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Threads, X, and we're also on YouTube now. So the previous videos that we created are live on our YouTube page. So you can find us on any of these platforms just by connecting with @DreamTACenter. It's always good to keep up to date with what we're doing, what are some updates we have, some tips we have. We're sharing out grant information, program information. So please make sure that you like and follow and stay connected with us.
And if you visited us a while ago and you haven't looked in a while, we've been really upping our social media game. Special shout out to Ashley, who's in the call, who's been doing an amazing job. So come check us out again if you didn't see much of interest the first time. I promise it's gotten a lot more interesting.
Also on our website too, we've been updating a lot of different things, and we're going to continue to be updating things. So please, periodically check in on our website and you'll be able to see more and more resources that can support your grant program.
And we have a question, yay! Will today's video be on YouTube as well? So we actually, because this is so specific to our ex-grantees, we weren't planning to share this widely. We were actually planning to include this in specific to you all. I guess it'll be on YouTube, but not our public channel. Is that the right answer? I don't know why I'm answering a question you should be answering, Maria. You know the right answer. Go ahead.
The private links. Those of you that attended today or who are part of the 325X grantees, you'll receive a private link so that you can see the video once it gets transcribed and captions are added to it. And once again, just in case, don't forget to fill out our evaluation link.
Well, thank you all for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you in May.